Professor Silthresh prided herself on maintaining the most orderly classroom in the Confederation Linguistic Academy. Her students spoke in properly modulated tones, never exceeding 40 decibels. Disruptions were virtually unheard of in her domain. That perfect record lasted until the human exchange student arrived. "Class, please welcome our new student from Earth," Professor Silthresh announced, her voice a melodious whisper that her sensitive auditory organs translated perfectly for the assembled students. "This is Danny Morrison, here to study Galactic Standard Communication." Danny waved enthusiastically from the doorway. He was a stocky young man with an easy smile, dressed in the Academy's standard uniform that seemed oddly reinforced around the collar. "Hey everyone," Danny said cheerfully. Every window in the classroom exploded outward. Students dove under their desks, their ear analogues folded flat against their heads in pain. Professor Silthresh's carefully maintained composure shattered along with the glass as she clutched her auditory stalks, which were now vibrating at dangerous frequencies. Danny froze, his smile fading into horror. "Oh no! Oh no, I did it again." The emergency medical team arrived within minutes, treating 17 students for acoustic trauma. Danny sat in the hallway, his head in his hands, looking absolutely miserable. "Mr. Morrison," Professor Silthresh approached cautiously, now wearing protective auditory dampeners. "That was your, normal-speaking voice?" "I was trying to whisper." Danny protested, then immediately covered his mouth as 3 nearby students flinched. When he continued, his voice was strained with effort at staying quiet. "I'm so sorry. They told me Earth humans were loud, but I thought I was being careful." Professor Silthresh consulted her datapad, her expression shifting from anger to concern to something approaching scientific fascination. "According to your medical files, Earth's atmospheric pressure is significantly higher than standard Confederation norm. And your planet's background noise levels are." She paused, recalculating. "Impossible. These readings can't be correct." "What do they say?" Danny asked nervously, still speaking at what he clearly thought was a whisper but registered as a shout on her instruments. "That your planet's quiet forest registers at 60 decibels. Your cities average 90. Your oceans produce sounds that would liquefy most species' auditory organs." She looked at him with newfound understanding. "Mr. Morrison, do you know what volume your greeting was?" Danny shook his head. 120 decibels. That's equivalent to a Vrelian war horn. You essentially walked into my classroom and declared a military assault." "I'm so sorry," Danny repeated, his voice cracking with genuine distress. "My parents warned me. The orientation officer warned me. I practiced for weeks with the volume coach, and I thought I had it under control." "How loud can you actually speak?" Professor Silthresh asked, morbid curiosity overcoming professional restraint. Danny's expression became haunted. "You don't want to know. Last week, during the physical assessment, they asked me to shout as loud as I could. I set off seismic sensors in the neighboring sector. They thought it was an earthquake." Professor Silthresh sat down beside him in the hallway, a gesture of solidarity that surprised them both. "Mr. Morrison, I think I understand the problem. You're not trying to be disruptive. Your species simply evolved in an environment so catastrophically loud that you had to develop vocal capabilities to match." "Catastrophically loud?" Danny looked confused. "Earth is pretty quiet, actually. Except for the thunder, volcanoes, waterfalls, wind, rain, waves, animals, and, okay, maybe I see your point. Exactly. What you consider quiet would be unbearable to most Confederation species." She thought for a moment. "I have a proposition. Rather than expel you, which several faculty members are demanding, what if we turn this into a learning opportunity?" "What kind of opportunity?" "You need to learn volume control. My students need to understand that communication isn't universal, that what's normal for one species can be catastrophic for another. She stood, offering him a hand up. We'll get you a proper vocal modulator, and you'll help teach my class about Deathworld adaptations. Deal? Danny's face brightened, carefully keeping his response quiet. Really? You're not sending me home? Mr. Morrison, the first principle of linguistics is that communication requires understanding context. You've just provided the most dramatic example of that principle I've ever witnessed. She smiled, her stalks returning to their normal position. Besides, once we get you properly equipped, I suspect you'll have valuable insights about acoustic communication in high-pressure environments. 3 weeks later, Danny stood before the same class, now equipped with a state-of-the-art vocal modulator that reduced his natural volume to Confederation-safe levels. The windows had been replaced with reinforced transparent aluminum, just in case. So, he said, his voice finally at an appropriate level, let me tell you about why humans developed the ability to scream loud enough to scare away predators the size of your campus shuttle. The class leaned forward, fascinated. Professor Silthresh watched with satisfaction. She'd lost 17 windows but gained the most engaging teaching assistant she'd ever had. Behind Danny's modulator, a small display showed his actual vocal output, 90 decibels. His quiet classroom voice was still louder than most species' emergency alarms. Professor Silthresh made a note to request a larger equipment budget. Something told her that humanity's entry into the Confederation was going to require a lot of reinforced windows.